I came back to make amends, but the truth I found demanded revenge. The road leading back to my hometown felt smaller than I remembered, like it had shrunk over the years while my memories kept growing heavier. Trees leaned inward, branches forming a lonely tunnel, and the winter air pushed against my truck windows as if warning me to turn around. But I didn't. Not this time. 7 years is a long time to stay away. 7 years is a long time to hold hurt inside your chest, pretending it's gone. When I finally reached the top of the hill overlooking my mother's house, something inside me stopped, like my past had been waiting there the whole time, standing on the porch with folded arms, ready to ask why I left and why I came back now. The house looked exactly the same. Same cracked paint. Same sagging roof. Same porch light that flickered even in daylight. But I wasn't the same man who left. I parked my truck, turned off the engine, and listened to the silence. It wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. The kind of silence that remembers every argument, every cold stare, every word that cut deeper than a knife. I stepped out, boots crunching on dry gravel, and pulled in a slow breath. Then I saw her. Ayla. She was in the yard next door, holding a basket full of white sheets. They fluttered in the cold wind like ghostly reminders of who we used to be. She looked almost exactly the same. Soft eyes, gentle face, dark hair tied loosely like she never had time to fix it properly. But something in her expression had changed. There was a tiredness, a weight. The spark I once saw every time she laughed wasn't there anymore. She froze when she saw me. Her fingers tightened around the basket. For a moment, it felt like time cracked open and spilled all the memories between us onto the frozen ground. "Ryan," she whispered, as if she wasn't sure I was real. My name in her voice. God, I wasn't ready for that. It hit me like a wave I'd been running from for years. I managed a small nod. "Hi." That was all. 2 letters. But it held 7 years of everything we never said. Her eyes softened for half a second, then hardened again, like she remembered exactly how we ended. She looked away, pretending to fix the sheets, but her hands trembled. I wanted to walk to her, ask how she'd been, ask why she looked so tired, ask why her voice cracked when she said my name. But before I could move, the front door of my mother's house opened with a loud creak. My mother stepped out, wiping her hands on her apron, her face already twisted in irritation before she even spoke. "Well," she said loudly, "look who finally showed up." I didn't answer. She crossed her arms, staring at me the way someone stares at a stain they can't remove. Back again. And still broke, I imagine. The old sting returned instantly. My mother always knew how to hit the wound that never healed. Before I could respond, my sister came to stand behind her. She didn't say anything at first. She didn't need to. Her smirk said everything. It was the same smirk she had when we were teenagers, the one she used whenever she got something I didn't. "Where's your fancy life?" My mother continued. "Where's your success? Your achievements? Your sister already bought another house. Another one." She pointed proudly at her. "You'll never own a house like she does." My sister flipped her hair with that confident, mocking look she always saved for me. It worked when I was younger. Not today. Ayla, still standing in her yard, looked between us with something sad in her eyes, like she knew exactly how this moment felt. I swallowed the bitterness rising in my throat. I didn't come here to fight. I didn't come for their approval. I didn't come to explain myself. I came for the truth. But truth takes time, and patience, and silence. So I simply unlocked my phone, opened the family group chat, still active, still full of their bragging and comparisons, and typed one line. "I didn't come back for you." My sister's smirk faded a little. My mother raised an eyebrow. But I didn't wait for their replies. I pocketed my phone and walked inside the house, leaving the cold wind, Ayla's trembling hands, and my mother's sharp tongue behind me. The inside of the house smelled like old wood and forgotten memories. Nothing had changed. The same furniture, the same family photos, the same atmosphere that always made me feel small. I stood in the hallway, running my hand over the chipped wall, remembering the night I left, remembering the arguments, the yelling, the judgment, the feeling that no matter what I did, I would never be enough for them. I heard footsteps behind me. My mother, arms still crossed, eyes still narrow. "You're staying?" she asked, not out of concern, but suspicion. "For now," I answered. She sighed loudly, as if my presence alone was a burden. Just don't cause trouble. We have a good reputation in this town. Your sister is respected. People talk, you know. Yeah, they talked. And she always made sure they talked about my failures, never my efforts. I walked past her without another word and put my small travel bag in the corner room, the room that used to be mine. Next door, I could hear Ayla's voice faintly as she talked to someone, her tone soft but stressed. I didn't know who she was speaking to. I tried not to imagine, but I couldn't stop thinking about her. Her face when she saw me. The sadness. The surprise. The guilt. I lay down on the old bed, staring at the ceiling, letting the weight of everything sink into my chest. 7 years. 7 years since I walked out of this house. 7 years since I left Ayla behind, thinking I was doing her a favor. 7 years since a single night changed everything. Now I was back. Not to prove anything. Not to win anything. Not for revenge. Not yet. I came back because something inside me whispered that the past wasn't done with me. And when Ayla looked at me with those tired eyes, I knew I wasn't done with the past either. Outside the window, I saw her glance toward the house one more time before closing her door. There was something in that look. Something hidden. Something waiting. And I didn't know it then, but the truth was about to break everything open. The wind howled outside, shaking the old walls, but inside me, everything was strangely calm. Because for the first time in years, I was exactly where I needed to be. The evening settled over the neighborhood like a blanket too heavy to move. The sky darkened slowly, turning from blue to bruised purple, and the cold air wrapped itself around everything. Trees, rooftops, and the pieces of my past scattered across this small town. Inside my mother's house, the atmosphere was suffocating. My mother kept talking loudly about my sister's new house, repeating it like it was some kind of prayer she whispered every hour, every day. My sister bragged about how quickly she paid for the second house, how she managed the loan, how she decorated the rooms. Each word carried the same message. Look what she did. Look what you didn't. I tried to ignore them, but the walls felt too close, and the voices felt too sharp. Eventually, I stepped outside just to breathe. Cold air hit my face, feeling almost good, almost like a reminder that I was still here, still real, still capable of feeling something that wasn't disappointment. I stood on the porch for a while, hands in my pockets, staring at the old street. Most of the houses had lights on, warm yellow lights that made them look comfortable and alive. My mother's house always stayed dim, as if even electricity didn't want to stay here long. I didn't expect Ayla to come out, but she did. She walked toward the fence between our yards, her hands wrapped in a sweater that looked too thin for the weather. She hesitated at first, as if talking to me again would reopen a wound she had carefully stitched shut. You shouldn't have come back, she said softly, breaking the silence. Her voice wasn't cold. It was tired in a way only someone who carried too many secrets could sound. I turned to her. Why? She looked down, her fingers gripping the wooden fence. Because everything is different now. I let her words sit between us for a moment, watching her expression. She wasn't angry. She wasn't rushing. She wasn't accusing me. She was scared. What changed? I asked gently. Her eyes lifted to meet mine. In them, I saw memories, our late-night talks, our quiet promises, our small dreams whispered on rooftops. I saw pain too. Pain I didn't understand yet. You left without a word, Ryan, she said. One morning you were there, the next, you were gone. I didn't know if something happened to you. I didn't know if you were hurt. I didn't know if you were ever coming back. Guilt tightened my chest, but I forced myself to speak. I left because your father said I wasn't good enough for you, I said. He told me I would never give you the life you deserved. He said I would drag you down. And you were crying so much. I didn't want to force you to choose between him and me. Her breath caught. So you believed him, she whispered. You really thought I wouldn't stand by you. Her voice cracked at the end, breaking something inside me too. You were young, I said. I didn't want to make your life harder. She shook her head slowly, almost painfully. But you still made it harder, Ryan. You disappeared without giving me a chance to speak, without letting me decide what I wanted. You took that choice away from me. I looked down. She was right. Leaving was supposed to protect her, but maybe all it did was create another wound, one neither of us knew how to close. There was a silence, heavy and stretching. Then she stepped a little closer. Her eyes didn't hold anger now, they held something else. A secret. A truth she was fighting with. 7 years, Ayla, I said quietly. You never tried to reach me. She let out a shaky breath. That's because some things weren't mine to say. Weren't mine to say. The words hit me hard, like a cold wave pulling me underwater. What does that mean? I asked. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the house behind me, the place where my mother was likely staring through the window, pretending not to listen. Ayla's gaze shifted, then she swallowed hard. Just when I thought she'd tell me, my phone buzzed in my pocket. The familiar sound from the family group chat. I sighed and pulled it out, already expecting something unpleasant. My mother had sent a message. Your sister bought another house. Maybe learn something from her. And my sister added a smirking emoji right after. Even after all the years away, nothing had changed. Ayla watched my expression as I read it. Her eyes softened, and for a brief moment, there was something like guilt. No, not guilt, pity. She whispered, I'm sorry. For what? I asked. For everything you don't know, she replied. Her voice was barely above a whisper, trembling like she was trying to keep herself from breaking apart. There was a moment where she looked like she wanted to reach for me, touch my arm, hold my sleeve, something small and desperate, but she pulled back at the last second, pressing her lips together tightly. The wind grew colder. Lights in the other houses dimmed one by one. But neither of us moved. Something heavy, something unspoken, something waiting hovered between us. Ayla finally stepped back, her eyes avoiding mine. You should rest, she said. It's been a long day. Ayla, I began, but she shook her head. Not now, she said. Please. She turned away before I could respond, walking toward her house. Her shoulders were tense, trembling slightly, as if she was carrying something too big for her small frame. She opened her door, paused for a moment, just a second, and looked back. Her eyes glistened in the dim porch light. Then she whispered, almost to herself, Why does it still hurt? And she shut the door. I stood there for a long time, staring at the empty space she left behind, the words echoing in my head like a haunting note. Something was wrong. Something big. Something she had been forced to hide. And for the first time since I returned, I realized. The past didn't just break me, it broke her too. And tomorrow, the truth waiting behind her tired eyes would finally show itself, whether I was ready or not. The next morning arrived quietly, almost too quietly. Frost covered the grass like a thin sheet of glass, and the air carried a cold bite that settled deep in the lungs. I stepped outside, expecting to see the same stillness as always, but something felt different, lighter, softer, as if the truth was waiting in the air, ready to fall at my feet. I walked toward my truck, not really knowing why. Maybe it was just to escape my mother's sharp voice inside the house. Maybe it was the restless night I barely slept through. Or maybe I was simply looking for something that made sense. Then I heard it. A small laugh. A child's laugh. It came from Ayla's yard. I turned and froze. There, sitting on the ground, was a little boy. His small hands pushed a toy truck back and forth on the cement path, making soft vroom noises. His cheeks were flushed pink from the cold, and his dark hair fell over his forehead in a familiar, messy way. My heartbeat slowed, and then sped up. He looked up at me, and everything inside me stopped, because the eyes looking back at me were not random. They were mine. Dark, deep, shaped exactly like my own. It felt like the whole world narrowed to that single moment, every sound fading, every memory rising, every unanswered question forming itself into one painful truth. Ayla rushed out from the front door, panic in her voice as she called, Adam. Inside. Now. The boy looked at her, confused but obedient, and started to rise. But he didn't run inside. Instead, he paused and turned back to look at me again, curious, innocent, unaware that his face alone had cracked my entire world open. I stared at him, breath shaking, my legs somehow too heavy and too light at the same time. My voice barely formed a whisper. Ayla. I didn't even look at her. My eyes were locked on the boy. Tell me the truth. Her face turned pale. She knew this moment was coming. You could see it in her eyes, the fear, the guilt, the exhaustion from carrying something far too heavy for far too long. She whispered his name again, but this time her voice trembled. Adam, go inside, sweetheart. He nodded softly, then walked toward the door, glancing back one last time before stepping inside. The moment the door shut, everything around us felt frozen. Even the wind paused. I turned to Ayla, my voice raw. Is he mine? She didn't answer immediately. She closed her eyes, as if bracing herself against a storm she had tried to outrun for years. When she opened them, tears were already forming. Yes, she said softly. Yes, Ryan. He's yours. My chest tightened so sharply it almost hurt to breathe. A strange mix of emotions, shock, anger, grief, wonder, rushed through me all at once. How? Why? I couldn't even form a full question. She wiped her cheeks, though the tears kept coming. You left 2 weeks before I found out I was pregnant. I tried to reach you. I called. I messaged. But your mother, she covered her mouth for a moment, gathering herself. She told me you didn't want anything to do with me. With us. She said you moved on. That you told her you didn't want a child ruining your life. My heart dropped like a stone. She made you believe that. I whispered. Ayla nodded slowly, brokenly. I was scared and alone. My father had already pushed you away once. And I had no one. No one except your mother. And she made sure I stayed quiet. Cold anger rippled through me. Cold, quiet, controlled. Not violent. Not explosive. Just deep and steady, like ice forming over fire. My sister knew too. I asked. Ayla nodded again, shame filling her eyes. She found out when Adam was born. Your mother made sure it never reached you. They said you were better off not knowing. That he was better off without you. A bitter laugh escaped me, soft, humorless. Of course they did. Of course they would rather erase me than admit they were wrong about me. Ayla stepped closer, her voice trembling. I wanted to tell you, Ryan. I swear I wanted to. But every time I tried, they threatened to take Adam from me. They said they'd make sure I'd lose him if I tried to bring you back into his life. I didn't know what to do. She wasn't lying. Her eyes, her voice, her shaking hands, they all told the same story. I took a slow breath, pressing my fingers against my temple as I tried to steady myself. I wasn't angry at her. Not even a little. My anger was for the people inside the house behind me. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Another message from the family group. My mother. Your sister's house is now fully paid off. Be proud of her. My sister. Smiling face. Their timing was perfect, like fate wanted me to see how small they believed I still was. But something inside me shifted. I was not the same man I had been 7 years ago. And they had no idea. A slow, cold smile formed on my lips. I typed one message back. Good. Because I just bought the house next door. I hit send. Inside the house, I saw curtains move. My mother's face appeared at the window, eyes wide, mouth open. My sister stood behind her, equally frozen. They looked like statues cracking from the inside. I turned away from them and walked toward Ayla. She watched me with confused, emotional eyes. I crouched down in front of her doorstep and waited a moment. The door opened softly, and Adam peeked out again, curious, hesitant. I smiled gently. Hi, I said. I'm Ryan. He looked at Ayla. She nodded, tears in her eyes. The boy smiled shyly. I know. Mama kept your picture. I swallowed hard, feeling something break and heal at the same time. Ayla wiped her cheeks again. Ryan, what now? I stood up slowly and looked at her, not with anger, not with blame, but with something stronger. Something steadier. Now, I said quietly, I take back my family, one truth at a time. Behind me, my mother and sister stared in stunned silence, realizing the one thing they feared the most. They could lie. They could hide. They could control everything for 7 years. But the truth still found its way home. Final line. Their house was big, but the truth I brought home was bigger.